Hello everyone, welcome to Green Bionomy. In today's video, we're going to focus on nutrients, the plant nutrients. So here we'll understand, or try to understand at least, what are the basic nutrients that the plant needs every day and why do the plants need them, as well as how it absorbs it and where it finds them. So the focus of this video is to understand the underlying structures and systems that basically affect your plant health, growth, and development. And these structures are based on the nutrients. So we are not going to dive into the details, but we're going to have a broad overview of what are the plant nutrients, okay? Hope you enjoyed that video and let's get started. Okay, let's review our nutrients. The first question we have is, what are nutrients? Okay, nutrients are elements, chemical elements like you can find in the periodic table, and they are divided into three categories. The first category is the primary macronutrients. The second category is the secondary macronutrients. And finally, we have the trace elements or micronutrients in the third category. Now, the classification for these categories is based on the amount of the element or nutrient the plants need to absorb every day. So the more the plants need it, the more important it is, and the higher it is in the categories, going from primary to secondary to micro or trace elements. All right. Now, we have 16 of these elements. These are the 16 elements that are important for plants and have been identified by scientists in general. So 6 of them are primary macronutrients, while we only have 3 of them being secondary macronutrients and 7 of them being trace elements or micronutrients. Let's see what are the 6 primary macronutrients. We have carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, also have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. In the secondary macronutrients, we have magnesium, sulfur, and calcium. And in the trace elements, we have boron, chlorine, manganese, iron, copper, zinc, and molybdenum. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing these right, but these are the 16 elements we have. Now, these 16 elements can be divided into 2 other categories. These 2 categories are non-mineral nutrients and mineral nutrients. So what is the difference between these non-mineral and mineral nutrients? It depends on where does the plant get them. Basically, non-mineral nutrients are provided by water and air. For example, carbon and oxygen are provided by air, while hydrogen is provided by water. The mineral nutrients are the ones that are provided by the soil. So they are present in the soil and they dilute in water, and that is what allows the plant to absorb them with their roots. So mineral nutrients are provided by soil and non-mineral nutrients are provided by air and water. And the difference between the two comes from where the plants get the nutrients. So this is it for what are the nutrients. Now let's move on to our other questions. So our third question is, why do plants need nutrients? So all nutrients are not equal. Some of them are more important than others, and the plants need some more than others. And just as we have seen before, the ones that the plants need the most are called the primary macronutrients that are needed in big quantities every day. And then we'll have the secondary macronutrients needed in medium quantities in comparison with the primary. And finally, the one the plants need the smallest amount of every day are the trace elements or micronutrients. So the more you move down that scale, the less important or the less the plant needs it every day in terms of quantities. So when you start with the primary macronutrients, the most essential ones, we're talking about basic survival. It's like how you wouldn't last a week without drinking water. Well, the plant needs its essential nutrients in large quantities every day, and it's very important for the plants, otherwise it will just die, right? So the carbon, the oxygen, the hydrogen, they're very important, and it's just a question of life and death. And the more you move down the scale, the more it becomes less and less important functions. For example, with nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and some of the secondary macronutrients, we might still be talking about important functions like reproductions, making fruits, having enough leaves to capture enough energy. But once you reach the trace elements, it becomes more a matter of thriving, a matter of optimizing the plant growth, the health, basically being super fit, super healthy. So you move down the scale and the importance changes and reduces from primary to secondary to micro. Now, each of these elements or nutrients affect a specific function of plant growth and development. All right, and this function, as we've just seen, is more or less important depending on if it's a primary, secondary, or micro element. Now, the element that is in the shortest supply, so the one that the plant has the least access of every day, will be the one stopping the plant growth and impairing its development, especially for essential nutrients like in the primary and secondary categories. So this element that is in the shortest supply is what you call the limiting factor. For example, if you have nitrogen, phosphorus in high quantities and you don't have enough potassium, well, potassium will be the element or nutrient that is stopping the development of the plant, and that's the one you will be calling your limiting factor and you will have to deal with. All right, now let's move on to how do plants take in the nutrients. So there are two ways in which the plant do that. The first is through the roots and the second is through the leaf pores. So the roots takes in almost everything because there's many things in the soil. We have just seen that the mineral nutrients are supplied by the soil and they're all in the soil. But you also have water and air in the soil that will supply the non-mineral nutrients like hydrogen, some carbon, some oxygen. So roots takes in a lot of things. Now the leaf pores will be focusing only in what is in the air. So that will be oxygen and carbon. So that's what the leaf do. But the roots in the soil do a lot of things and takes in most of the nutrients, the mineral one as well as some of the non-mineral ones. Now, where do plants get their nutrients? So by now that's something we should be able to easily answer, but it's always useful to frame the information in new ways by using different questions. This will allow the information to sink in more deeply, but as well to broaden and deepen your understanding because we're looking at it with a different lens. So when we're asking where do plants get their nutrients, now we'll be thinking of the environment. So it's in natural environment. Plants will get their nutrients in the water, the air, and the soil. And we've seen that water and air is mainly dealing with non-mineral nutrients like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, while the soil is dealing with the mineral nutrients that are present in the soil. Now, let's compare the origin of the nutrients the plant needs with a method of growing plants that is called hydroponics. So in hydroponics, plants are grown directly in a water-based solution. There is no soil. It's a soil-less method of farming. And it's also one of the main subjects of the channel at the moment, and that's why I would like to make the comparison with the natural environment in which plants are usually found. Now, in hydroponics, you don't have soil. That means that you do not have all the nutrients that are provided by the soil. These are the mineral nutrients. So where do you get them? Usually you will get them from a hydroponic solution. So there's a lot of hydroponic suppliers, and there is commercially available hydroponic solutions that integrate all of these mineral nutrients you need for your plant in one package. Either it can be liquid or it can be dry, but they're all in there, and that's how you will give them to your plant by mixing these hydroponic solution with water to get the proper ratios you want. Now the water and air will still be present, so the non-mineral nutrients will still be around in the environment, the hydrogen through the water and the oxygen and carbon through the air. In hydroponics, you can also make your custom-made solution by mixing yourself different elements to provide the nutrients to the plant. For example, I've seen people making fertilizers with banana peels, or you can use eggshells and things like that, but this is an area I haven't explored in depth yet, so I just bundled it all together into custom made. But usually you will use commercially available hydroponic solutions, which are mainly artificial way to provide the nutrients to the plant. So by now, I hope you have a broad overview of what are nutrients and why do the plants need them, how do the plants absorb them, as well as where do the plants get them. So in the next video, I will more focus on the specific functions that are affected by each of these nutrients, especially for the primary macronutrients and the secondary one, because I want to understand, and I think it's also important for you to understand, how do each elements affect the growth and development of the plant, right? So you can, when you observe the plant, you're able to tell maybe that it's missing some nitrogen or it's missing some phosphorus or one of the other elements. So the other videos on nutrients will be more about going in depth on how it works. For example, the stomata, it will be interesting to see how the leaf pores absorb these gas, these oxygen and this carbon. So that will be for the next videos, but here we mainly focused on the overview, and I hope this video managed to fulfill its purpose. Thank you for watching if you're still here at the end of this video, and feel free to leave a like, to comment if you have some nice feedback to give, some advices for me, and subscribe if you would like to follow along the journey, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.